Okay. Thank you. Please remain standing for the reading of our pledge found on your handout. Oh, I read this. Okay. Our pledge. Breaking out of my shell, I will share a warm smile and speak gentle words, just like the kind Buddha. Not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance, I shall think and act with an open mind, just like the calm and peaceful Buddha. Not putting myself first, I will share in the joy and sadness of others, just like the compassionate Buddha. Realizing the gift of life I have received, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest, like the Buddha who tirelessly works to liberate all. Oh, that's Japanese. None of those. Okay. I think please be seated. It doesn't say, but I assume. Reverend Irene Goto will now deliver today's Dharma message.
Good morning. The temple has filled up since I came, so I'm glad you all were able to make it this morning on this beautiful fall now day. And fall is my favorite time of the year, but so glad you could make it on a beautiful day. I didn't see the Matsutake man out yet. Was he here? Oh, he was here. Oh, okay. So I hope you all remember to, Oshoko before you went out to buy matsutake. I'd like to start with saying that the title of my talk today is Gasho, which we sang this morning. So Gasho is put your hands together. So the title of my talk is High Five and Gasho. So I'm kind of relating this with Gasho. But I would like to start my talk with a passage from the Shoshinge, which we just chanted. And if you'd like to look at the passage, it's on page 42 of the Shoshinge, and the English is on the bottom of the page. So if you can read it in kind of Gasho at the same time, please. It says, "And when he reaches that lotus-held world, he immediately realizes the body of suchness, Dharma nature. Then, sporting in the fields or forests of blind passions, he manifests transcendent powers. Entering the garden of birth and death, he assumes various forms to guide others." Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Even in English, this is difficult to understand, right? But I chose this passage because to me it says that I am not alone and I don't ever need to be alone. So I'd like to relate just a experience that I had a few weeks ago. My understanding of this passage is that Master Vasubandhu declares in writing the virtue or the benefit of the primal vow, the vow that says we will be saved, all of us will be saved. We will all be able to reach the Pure Land. Vasubandhu declares that when a person reaches the threshold of true liberation, the lotus-held world, and then total emancipation, realizing the body of suchness or Dharma nature, he appears in our suffering world, the forests of blind passions and garden of birth and death. He appears in our suffering world in amazing ways, manifests transcendent powers, in amazing ways to guide us to liberation and a peaceful life. It sounds familiar to me, to the story that says, when you go to the Pure Land, you will not find anyone there, because those who go there come back to this Saha world to help all of us become liberated. That is the Mahayana way. My parents went to the Pure Land many years ago, but a few weeks ago, I found them coming back to me unexpectedly. I would like to share that circumstance with you. It wasn't so profound, but just a nice Ohigan fall outing. It was the Saturday before Ohigan, about 2 weeks ago. My daughter took my husband and me on a hike up to Oyster Dome, a Pacific Northwest trail near Bellingham, Washington. It was a challenging enough hike for me, about 2.5 miles up with a 1,000-foot elevation gain, and 2.5 miles down, of course. At the bottom, my daughter turned to me and said, "We did it," and signaled me to do a high five with her. It was her idea to do the high five, and the hike was also her idea. I had not doubted that I could do the hike, but maybe she had doubts. And so she was really relieved when we successfully returned to the trailhead and our parked car. As I relived the hike on our way home, yes, our successful hike merited a high five, not for just the hike, but for reminding me of my parents and for the realization that it was because of them that I had a wonderful day. The high five, "We did it," reminded me of Gasho, the left hand representing me and the other hand representing Amida Buddha. Then I asked myself, who deserved the merit high five? Was it us, my daughter and me, who deserved the merit, or Amida Buddha? I think Amida Buddha, because although we were doing the hike, my departed parents, my personal Buddhas, were with us as part of Amida Buddha guiding us in the forests of blind passions. My mother was with us. I had made Spam musubi as our bento lunch. My mother didn't make Spam musubi, but when we went mushroom hunting or on a road trip, she always made a bento that included musubi rice balls. When my daughter commented that the bento reminded her of her school lunches, I realized that I used to make bento with carrot sticks and dill pickles for a long time, like my mother had done for me. So my mother was on our hike with us. My father was with us. As we hiked upward, I could hear the sound of water flowing. We encountered creeks that we had to jump across. My daughter watched me leap across and said, "Mom's a pretty good jumper." I said, "That's from jumping over irrigation ditches on the farm." "Did you have to jump a lot of ditches?" "No, but I learned that I could jump farther than I first thought I could." So my father was on the hike with us. Hiking on upwards, we encountered several kinds of mushrooms. My daughter wanted to know if I could recognize matsutake pine mushrooms. I used to go mushroom hunting with my mom and dad. Of course, because pine mushrooms are food, I was motivated to learn to identify matsutake. I didn't see any, by the way. There's no secrets divulged here. Up at the steepest part of the trail, I started huffing and puffing, and my daughter offered to trade backpacks. Mine always seemed too heavy, maybe too many musubi. We traded backpacks and continued. She actually pushed me a few times, which encouraged me, not so much physically, but mentally and spiritually. She wanted me to make it to the top, so I kept putting my effort into the climb. We finally got to the top and encountered the beautiful view, the Olympic Mountains, Anacortes, the San Juan Islands, and we ate our bento, our reward. The hike down was, of course, easier and quicker, but there were many more hikers now going uphill. I knew what was in store for them, both the suffering part and the reward at the top. Perhaps an analogy for living this life and then reaching the Pure Land. We decided to take a leisurely road back to I-5, and we soon happened to be in my cousin's neighborhood. We did a quick U-turn and stopped in to visit her. She is battling pancreatic cancer. We had a good visit with her, and she was so happy and appreciative to see us. I thought my mom would be happy that I stopped to visit her. We made it home safely after a beautiful, satisfying day. That safe return home deserved the same high five that we did at the bottom of the mountain after the arduous hike. After arriving home from a road trip, long or short, my mom used to say, "Thank you," and maybe "Namo Amida Butsu" to herself. I often find myself saying "Namo Amida Butsu" to myself when I overcome a rough patch in my day, but I don't think of saying "Namo Amida Butsu" so often when I have encountered a success or a joy. In this instance, it was my daughter's invitation to a high five that reminded me to say "Namo Amida Butsu." For it was not just because of the efforts of my daughter and me, but that of my mother and father and their families and lives before them that we were able to make that successful, beautiful hike. The trip was a time for bonding, to learn about family, to get exercise, breathe fresh air, and appreciate our beautiful Pacific Northwest. After this hike and that high five, putting my hands together in Gassho has deeper meaning for me. My left hand is my deluded self, and my right hand, Amida Buddha, all together. And together we are one. I will think of Amida Buddha, my parents, and me on the same team, the team of life, and be grateful to Amida for allowing my parents to come back to guide me in the Saha world. Please join me in Gassho once more for Shinran Shonin words that speak on Master Vasubandhu and the primal vow, Amida Buddha's desire to save all sentient beings by having our liberated loved ones come back to guide us toward the Pure Land. And when he reaches that lotus-held world, Tokushi Renge Zo Sekai, he immediately realizes the body of suchness or Dharma nature, Sokusho Shinyo Hosho Jin. Then sporting in the forests of blind passions, he manifests transcendent powers, Yu Bon no Ringen Jinzu. Entering the garden of birth and death, he assumes various forms to guide others. Nyu Sho Ji On Ji Oge. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Reverend Goto. Please join me in Gassho for words from the collective works of Shinran. The Master of Kwangming Temple states, "It is regrettable indeed that sentient beings doubt what should not be doubted. The Pure Land is right before us and never out of harmony with us. Do not ponder whether Amida will take you in or not. The question is whether or not you will wholeheartedly turn about at heart." Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Please stand for the Gatha Seya found on page 124 in your Gatha book. Okay. Please be seated. This concludes the live streaming of our service today. If you have joined us online, please join us again next Sunday. Have a good day.